If this test doesn't work, this whole project is What if I told you you can build a $2,500 bed for only $250? And what if that bed had a clever feature you're gonna want in every single bed you own?
Today I'll be making a queen bed, but these plans are easily modified to build any size you need from twin to king. And I'm starting this build by cutting red oak hardwood lumber down to the same dimensions as a 2x4 and a 2x2 that you'd get at the home center. And there's a very good reason why I'm doing this. This bed can be as high-end or inexpensive as you'd like, where all in on this build would cost you right about $250. And I do feel like I need to address something from the very start. 3D printing is going to be a large part of how this bed comes together, but even if you're skeptical, I would ask that you give me a chance. And to prove how confident that I am that I might change your mind, I'm going to torture test this bed with over 2,000 pounds.
Oh God.
Now, I know that twice before I've incorporated 3D printing into furniture designs of mine, and twice before many of you have let me know how much you didn't like it. And if I'm being honest, I think you guys were right on both accounts. But I also see the value of 3D printing when it comes to furniture building and design, and I truly think that this time around, I can change your mind. So I want to try a little experiment. For those that want to play along, I have 4 questions that I want you to answer.
Number 1, is 3D printing DIY? Number 2, would you own a 3D printer? Number 3, will this bed be strong enough? And number 4, do you think 3D printing is going to change the way we look at furniture over the next 10 years?
Now this can be super easy. Just go right now down into the comment section and go number 1, yes or no, number 2, yes or no, and so on. And by the end of the video, I want to see if I've changed your mind for better or for worse, because I think I've got something really cool here that even the 3D printing skeptics are going to enjoy. The only problem is that I would admit that I'm not the best designer. So this right here, this is what I started with. Super basic, super boring, but at least I had something to work with. Then I started playing around with different tapers, textures, heights, and I hated every single one. But this spindle leg design right here was the first one that I landed on that I felt like, I'm headed in the right direction. Although the biggest complaint with my previous attempts to include 3D printing in furniture weren't design-based. It was more of an overall quality issue. Those prints looked cheap. They looked like plastic toys mixed with furniture, and I didn't do good enough post-processing and painting to make them look good. This time, I want a more refined result, so I'm gonna use a more refined filament. This is Bamboo Labs Matcha Green PLA carbon fiber filament, and while being stronger, the PLA carbon fiber also has a really nice matte finish. That Thuma style bed that I built a few years ago uses some really clever castle joinery to give it that easy slot together knockdown construction. And I think knockdown construction is a must-have element of a true DIY bed. So for this design, I added these holes on the inside faces of the leg prints, and these are for heat-set threaded inserts. You literally melt these into the plastic parts so they become integrated, and this was actually my first time using these. Now, it's not just satisfying to sink in the threaded inserts, but the fact that I can now bolt the rails directly to the 3D printed legs feels extra gratifying. In order for the bed rails to attach to the legs, I need to drill holes for bolts because that's how I'm going to accomplish the knockdown construction. I did model a few drill templates so I can quickly place those holes, and those files will be included in the plans. And those plans are going to be available for free. And I want to take a second to shout out this awesome Rockler workbench. I talked about it in my last build, but if you don't know, I destroyed my old workbench with an epoxy pour. So recently I picked up this Rockler woodworking workbench with its 2 vices. And even though I'm not much of a hand tool woodworker, the dog holes in this bench and those holdfasts that I got from Rockler as well are the quickest and easiest way to hold your workpiece in place. Rockler has all sorts of awesome workshop solutions and tools, and you guys know they've been a longtime sponsor of mine, and I'll make sure to link all the Rockler tools and products that I use in this video down below. So I know I haven't given a ton of specifics about the exact build details of this bed, but I promise you all that information is going to be linked in those free build plans. And while I work on those bed rails that are going to support the slats, I just want to take a second to thank all of you who watch my videos and have subscribed to this channel. Because of you, I was able to retire from my day job almost exactly 3 years ago, and now I get to do what I love most in the world, and that's getting to be creative every single day and learning something new every single day. And hopefully through these these videos, you guys are learning stuff as well and getting inspired to tap into your own creativity, because that's really what it's all about. And I would say that if you find value in these videos and you want to see all the fun stuff that we've got planned for the rest of the year, and trust me, we've got some really great projects planned for the rest of the year. I really think you guys are going to get a kick out of those. But if you enjoy these videos, I'd like to ask you to please consider getting subscribed, because it truly is the #1 way to support me and what I do, getting subscribed and watching my videos. And I just want to say I truly appreciate all of you for allowing me to do what I love. So thank you. And the other way to support what I do is to support my sponsors, and TotalBoat has been my longest sponsor. And even though there is zero epoxy in this build, I did use a lot of their CA glue and activator and their wood honey finish. I mean, this is my go-to wood finish. It looks great, it smells great, it's food safe, and that honey bear packaging is absolutely perfect. So I've got a link below for the TotalBoat website, and when you purchase through that link, you'll get a discount every single time. So, am I on the right path? I mean, at this moment in the build, things are strangely going well, which if you watch my videos, you know that's a bit unusual. I mean, where are the mistakes? Where's the disaster that makes me go back and rebuild whole sections of this project? Don't worry, they're coming. When I built that king-size live-edge slab bed for my wife a few years back, the most useful feature I added were those flip-out reading lights, but they cost $400 a piece. And I knew I wanted to include something similar into this bed, but the problem is a good, inexpensive version just doesn't exist. So I'm gonna try to invent my own. But there's just one big problem. I'm not an engineer. I do have 3D modeling experience building furniture, but I've never tried to design a product as complex as this. And if I'm gonna make this light, it has to work like that $400 version, which means 3 things. 1, the light has to pivot out from a housing. 2, the light has to rotate up and down once it's out. And 3, the light has to automatically turn on and off when you flip it in or out of the housing. If it can't do all 3, then I don't think I can call my design a success.
Did I mention I'm not an engineer?
And I may not have engineering skills, but what I do have is a particular set of skills. I'm stubborn, I have a 3D printer, and I have a willingness to fumble my way through a design until it works. And right here are the first few prototypes that I came up with. Now, I'm working on the different elements of this light separately, and this allows me to work quicker since I'm not 3D printing the entire light for each step of the way. And first up, I worked on the print-in-place hinge that allows the light to swing out of the housing. And even though I've never designed a print-in-place hinge before, it worked pretty well right off the bat. Now, I wish I could say the same for this next hinge where the light needs to rotate up and down, and my idea was to have a post that can rotate inside a shaft with a positive stop that prevents it from spinning a full 360 degrees. And my first few attempts were slightly lacking in basic functionality, but I was not deterred because I'm confident that I'm on the right track.
There's still a lot of work left to do on these prototypes, but at least I feel like I'm getting somewhere.
While I'm buried in prototypes, Jeff's in the wood shop actually keeping the bed build moving forward, and right now he's working on the headboard. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, Jeff is a badass woodworker. I mean, he's my right-hand man here in the shop, and with all those tattoos, some of you probably didn't even realize it wasn't me on camera just now. Why do you think I hired him? The headboard is made from a sheet of red oak plywood to match the rails, but you could build this with anything. If you are gonna build this the 2x4 pine route, what I do recommend is radiata pine plywood, and that's about half the price of the red oak that I bought, and that's what's gonna help keep those costs down in that $250 range all in at the end of this bed build. Like I mentioned before, I'm going for what I call elevated DIY, which means a couple things. It isn't just clever features like the light. It's about combining those features with solid woodworking fundamentals. The 3D printed parts give me modularity and flexibility, but the wood is what gives this bed its warmth and its presence. Now, to attach the headboard, I designed some more 3D printed parts to match the legs. You're never gonna see these. The mattress and the pillows are gonna cover most of it, but still, I went ahead and added that subtle wave pattern because I want this whole set of parts to feel cohesive, and maybe because I enjoy 3D modeling a little bit too much. Meanwhile, I'm still tackling more prototypes on the light mechanism, and while I'm making progress, I'm still far from figuring out this tricky little contraption. Remember earlier when I said things were going smoothly and that was weird? Yeah, this is where it all starts to unravel. Now, it wasn't all bad. I was slowly making progress on the different elements of the light, but then I'd change some parameter and that would throw everything else off. And I still hadn't solved one of the biggest issues with this project. As that light pivots up and down, it needs to pivot smoothly and then stay in place wherever it lands. That's how that $400 light works, and I wanted the same thing for this light. And after spending a couple days mulling it over, the solution was surprisingly simple. Just add a spring inside the shaft to push against the pivot post, thus creating friction as it turns. The light that I decided to use in this project is the same puck light that Bamboo Lab sells on their website. And when I bought one of my Bamboo Lab printers, this was included in the box as a little bonus. Now, I used a pre-existing print file from Bamboo Lab's MakerWorld, which, by the way, has thousands of free downloadable print files. And I found some files for this Kamiko lamp that uses that light puck. So knowing that it's a good product and knowing the exact sizing and tolerances, that's what I went for with this build. I have to account for the fact that this light is corded and then that cord runs through the middle of these printed parts. And I can't figure out a way to do that without cutting the cord. And knowing that I have to solder this back together complicates the light build. So I am gonna try to find a workaround. But before I do that, I wanted to make sure this bed was gonna be strong enough. So I've cooked up this little test. For the strength test, I printed a backup set of legs so I wouldn't scratch up the matcha green set, but I did use the exact same Bamboo Lab carbon fiber PLA filament, and I will admit that this matte black set of legs almost made me reconsider swapping these out for the matcha green set because they looked so good. And real quick, Jeff put together this test platform for the torture test, and it's just a couple of 2x4s bolted to the legs with a plywood deck on top, and I have multiple stacks of slabs air drying inside my shop, and those stacks of slabs are at least 1,000 pounds a piece, give or take. And the plan is to set about 2,000 pounds worth of those hardwood slabs on this thing using my forklift. Now, 2,000 pounds might sound like overkill, but you know what? That's kind of the point. In compressive strength tests, parts printed with PLA filament, and even more so with carbon fiber PLA filament, actually measure stronger compressive strength than concrete.
I love how the seat doesn't lock. Makes driving this thing really fun. All right, here we go. Come on, are you freaking kidding me? Okay. I think the battery's dead. I've been having trouble with this thing, Jeff. I think it's time for a new battery. Shit. Okay, we got the platform all set up. I'm gonna get a new battery. Why doesn't anything work in my shop?
But unfortunately, it turns out the weakest part of this build so far is my forklift. The battery is dead, and while I order a new battery, the strength test is just gonna have to wait a little bit longer while Jeff and I get back to the build. The next part of this build that I'm tackling are the nightstands. And again, when I say that I'm tackling them, Jeff is gonna be doing a lot of the actual building while I'm still working on the 3D printed components. And to stick with the knockdown theme of this bed, I'm making the nightstands modular, meaning they're gonna slot over the bed rails with a clip so you can position them wherever you want or remove them entirely.
Hey, Future Johnny here, and I had to stop the video because there's something crazy I want to show you guys. So while this time lapse is running on this 3D print, the support falls off and then somehow reattaches itself. I have no idea how that's possible.
Well, back to it then.
Now, I'm 3D printing the clips, and I decided to take advantage here of all the features of my Bamboo Lab H2D printer to make this extra useful. And you guys may have guessed by this point that Bamboo Lab is the sponsor of this video, and this is their new larger H2D printer. But I like to think of it more as a small manufacturing hub that fits right into my shop. And that's because it's so much more than just a large format 3D printer. It also has the ability to add a laser with options for a 10 watt or 40 watt, and it can do vinyl cutting and pen plotting. So that means there are so many different options of what you can do with this machine and then how you can combine all of these options. You can even do crazy stuff like print an entire pair of shoes, which I did with Bamboo Lab's flexible TPU combined with PLA supports, and these things, they look pretty wild, but man, this was fun. And for the nightstands, the clips need a way to grip the oak rail securely without sliding around. So I used the H2D's laser to cut thin cork liners that fit perfectly inside those 3D printed clips. clips. That's going to give them a tight, grippy fit against the rails. I also 3D printed these catch-all trays for your keys, your wallet, or whatever other everyday carry items that you have, so they would have a place to go. But I wanted these to feel a little bit more finished, so I'm going to line them with a vinyl leatherette. And then using H2D's vinyl cutter, I was able to cut these perfectly to size. And I've never done any vinyl cutting, but the Bamboo Labs suite software made this so simple. Just drop in the file, hit start, and it cut the liner to the exact shape and size that I needed. And I've got links down below for this Bamboo Lab H2D that I'm using, and there has never been a better time to get one of these awesome machines because, like me, you don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to have a ton of experience. You can just jump on their Maker World website and download the thousands of free print files and laser cut files and so much more. So make sure to check out that link down in the description and unlock that creative maker within you. And with the nightstands, these kind of details take a project from looking DIY to feeling elevated. And I think it's all starting to come together and truly have that elevated DIY feel. Let's go give these nightstands a try. Getting back to the lights, and after 11 tries, I was convinced that this was the one. Iteration 12 looked right, felt solid, and I was ready to call this finished. This was the version that I thought that I was going to be installing on the final bed. I brought it into the wood shop, added those heat set inserts, bolted everything together, and for the first time it actually felt like a finished product. This is it. This is the final version, except it wouldn't open at all.
Did I just break it?
I completely forgot to leave clearance on the back of the hinge, so the light can't even swing out of the housing. Everything was completely jammed up, and if that wasn't enough, I also forgot to leave a channel for the electrical wiring, which means if the hinge had worked, the switch couldn't even seat into the back of the junction box, so iteration 12 is a failure. Again, I have to go back to the drawing board. But the difference with this one is that version 12 is really close. I mean, it looked right, it almost worked, which meant if I could just fix these two things, I'd finally have the working flip out light that I've been chasing this whole time, and that's exactly what happened on iteration number 13. After 12 failed prototypes and clearance issues, wiring oversights, you name it, this version should finally work. And here's the moment of truth.
Okay, here we go. It works!
The tolerances are right, the pivot works, and the wiring's clean, and the switch is integrated. I mean, is it perfect? No. But is it functional? Yes. I think it's clever, and the best part, it finally works. But I'm still not 100% happy with it. Where I failed in this light is that I could never come up with a solution to use that puck light without cutting the cord and then having to solder it back together. And I feel like someone smarter than me can make this light so much better, and for that reason, I'm giving away this design for free. Again, I'm not an engineer, but I also know that I have a ton of really smart people who watch these videos, and you guys know way more about this stuff than I do. So please, take my idea, make it better, do whatever you want with it, sell it, upload it, make a better version, whatever you want to do, but I'm just really curious to see where you guys can take it. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with how far I got with it, and now it's time to install them in the bed. And before we close out this video, I promise you all a strength test, and I finally got the forklift working.
She lives! Let's do this!
On paper, this should work. I mean, 3D prints test stronger than concrete in compression strength, and these bed legs should be able to hold up all 2,000 pounds, but you know what? All we can do now is try it and see.
All right, man. She don't look like much. She's got it where it counts. Jeff, I am nervous as hell because if this test doesn't work, this whole project is oh God. Ooh, it's on there, dude. Oh, it's holding. This is the bigger stack, and I'm pretty sure this one weighs more than 1,000 pounds. And look at that. That's holding, man. All right. Like seriously, Jeff, what are we gonna do if this doesn't work? It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. This is so sketchy. Oh, that's on there. That's on there, dude. Look at that. Yeah, baby. That is every bit of 2,000 pounds. It's holding just fine. Get a shot down here, Jeff. Here, I'll hold the slabs so they don't fall on you. Look at that, dude. This thing could take a lot more. I'd say it passed.
I'm not gonna lie, this feels really good. I mean, I've taken some heat for including 3D printing into my furniture, but this is the point. If you do it right with the right geometry and the right details, it can absolutely hold its own. And if it can hold 2,000 pounds, then I think this bed and those 3D prints have passed the test. Now it's time to fully assemble this bed for the first time. And don't forget, I've got those free bed plans and print files listed on the Bamboo Lab Maker World website. And also there's a link to the light that will take you to my website where you can download that as well. I use the Bamboo Lab H2D to do almost all of these prints, and it is by far the most amazing 3D printer that I've ever used. So make sure to check out my links below. And I've also sized these prints to fit on Bamboo Lab's smaller, more budget-friendly printers as well. All right, here it is, a $2,500 bed built for $250, elevated DIY, knockdown joinery, modular nightstands, and yes, a flip-out light that actually works.
Let's get back to those 4 questions I asked in the beginning of the video. Just go back to your original comment, reply to it, and drop those new answers. Thanks for watching, and here's a few more videos I think you'll enjoy.